Today on Beavertown Outdoors, two new ideas come together to try and increase production. Hello again, friends. Welcome to another edition of Beavertown Outdoors. I'm John, and I'm out here at the cold and snowy Beavertown compound. And today, we're going to try out something new. A couple new ideas. So, I've had laying around for a little while this yard glider. Some of you may have seen these before. It's basically a big slippery piece of thick plastic with some cables on the back, meant so you can drag things very easily across all types of terrain. So thinking how slippery it is, being that, no, you're not going to get the blooper, but I just fell down over there, slipping on ice. I'm thinking on this icy, snowy ground, this should slide with a load of firewood on it. So what my thought is, instead of being limited by the material bucket size, which is quite ample, but that I could lay this down and see if I could run an entire table of logs off of the range road onto here and then drag it away instead of being hauling and dumping it. And you say, well, John, what are you going to do with it when you drag it? Because you're still going to have to get it piled up. And that is true. So that's where new idea number 2 comes into play. This I picked up recently, and some of the eagle-eyed viewers of a couple of my last videos may have seen this in the background, but this is a new idea. I think the guy I bought it from said 1968, 69, something like that. New idea hay conveyor or hay elevator. I picked this up for a couple $100 off a very nice old gentleman who had bought it for doing firewood out of his hobby farm. Figured he could use it for firewood and assorted other things, and decided that he was a little too old for that much work, according to him. So he had the ad up. I approached him, said, hey, it's kind of what I was going to use it for, and so he made him an offer. He accepted it, and he actually was very gracious and greased everything up for me, got everything all set up. He said it'll be ready to use day one. So, well, it's been a couple weeks now since I got it, but now we're going to give it a shot. So, in this elevator, not sure on the length of it. It's over 30 foot, but it is not. What it's driven by is it's driven by the PTO on the tractor. So you can see down here, there's PTO shaft, and goes to a belt, goes through a set of pulleys down to a bigger pulley, and makes the conveyor chain move. So I was glad to see that there's at least a belt drive there. So hopefully if this gets stuck, it's just going to spin and burn up a belt, not not break anything on the PTO. You know, probably gonna be a little careful loading it. But my thought was that I would fill up the yard glider, and be able to drag it with the Branson over to here, hook the Branson up to the PTO, and away we go, up the conveyor into the bin. So we're going to try that out today and see how it works. So you guys are going to come along. So anyway, I'm going to get set up and get ready to run. And you guys just sit back, relax, and enjoy what you see. Alright, so we ran that whole table of logs off, and here's what we came up with. Or what we ended up with. And some of it falls off the sides, obviously. So I just picked it up a little, real quick and threw it on there. Now I fully anticipate when I drag this that something's going to get left behind. Question is going to be how much. So, I'm thinking of this. This should work fairly good. We'll see. You might find that something with sides on it, like a, one of those sleds you pull for ice fishing. Let's see if one of those might work better at some point. But, yeah, we're going to drag it over there, over to the elevator, and see what happens. Well, that wasn't too awful. A few straggler pieces, but it moved it over here, so yeah, that worked fairly well. So now what I'm gonna do, this ain't very far. I'm gonna throw these pieces over here. This might be more of a pain in the butt, losing pieces like this when way over there, but that's okay. Anyway, I'm going to unhook the sled, and skid, whatever you want to call it, and get these last few pieces over here, and then I'm going to hook up the PTO to the elevator, get that running, and we're going to start chucking. So, I spared you the joy that is hooking up a PTO shaft. If you've never done it, it's definitely a treat. So, it can be a little bit difficult at times. But to show you this down here, this is how this hooks up. So shaft goes from one pulley over to here and then hooks up down here. Hooks up down there under to the PTO. And then we just fire up the tractor, engage the PTO, dial up the RPMs to whatever speed we need. Now this I'm not going to run at full 540 RPM. Don't need it. We'll just run it just high enough to move it along. But yeah, so that's how we're going to do that. I'm going to get this fired up, and we're going to chuck some wood in and let it go off the end of the conveyor. So now, before I know, I'm going to get the comment that, well, this is going to add useless hours to the tractor. Well, people have been using tractors for this stuff for as long as there's been tractors with PTOs. So, it's not really hard on the tractor to use the PTO. It's hours, but these are light duty hours on it compared to driving around, running the loader, ramming into stuff, doing all the other stuff we do with the tractor. So overall, I don't think it's detrimental, but you do you with your tractor. I'm gonna use this and see how it works out. Well, it was going good. Then this kept happening. Actually, it happened a couple of times. These old paddles are held on with a rivet. You can see there. It goes in a hole. And yeah, it pulled through. Which also did the wonderful thing of derailing the chain. So, I spent first time it did it, had to adjust it back. But you can see up there, I don't know if you can see it. Yep, she derailed off of one side. So yeah, derailed them both. Well, like I said, at least I guess I'll call this, I'll chalk this up to a proof of concept that it works. Yeah, like I said, it was working out just fine till one little paddle messed up the whole show. But I guess that's what you get with. I guess that's what happens when you get old equipment, right? You know, it's kind of this ain't brand new. That's kind of things you run into, I guess. So, but using the skid worked. I mean, it did leave me a little bit of a mess. But yeah, like I said, try new things out, and we learn and we get better. So that's gonna do it for me today, guys. I gotta get a bunch of stuff put away and do some running. So that's gonna be it for me. But if you like what you saw, please like and subscribe. You know, if you're a regular viewer, please consider subscribing. That helped me out quite a bit. Been getting a lot of great views and a lot of new subscribers. Thank you to everybody who's subscribed recently. You know, tell your friends, bring me more. That'd be great. But yeah, until next time, everyone, from all of us here at the beautiful Beavertown compound and Beavertown Outdoors, take care of each other, be good, stay safe, and I'm out.